Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Cary Sparrow. Cary, it's great to connect with you. You're the founder and CEO of Greenwich.HR. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. You've been in the business following 25 years of business and engineering leadership roles. You founded Greenwich in 2015 with a mission to bring more transparency to the labor market. You now serve some of the best-known organizations in the world, such as Walmart and Stanford University with its next generation market intelligence platform. I'm looking forward to talking a lot about that. I always start off my podcast as a business coach. I work with C-level execs, leaders, owners, managers, salespeople around the globe. And I work with people who are successful, stuck, get them unstuck. So I always like to kind of dive into, where is a recent stuck that you were stuck and how did you get unstuck?
Yeah, great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be talking with you today.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
As you mentioned, we're in the business of providing real-time, highly transparent intelligence about what's happening in the labor market. Who's hiring? What are they hiring for? What skills do they need? How much are they paying? How successful are they at hiring? Very transparent, very large scale. We track in many developed countries about 80% of all the new jobs that are being created. So huge part of the economy that we've got visibility to. And then we provide that visibility to our clients who can either build, intelligence into their own applications and services, or they can buy an application from us that allows them to answer very specific questions about what's happening with hiring and pay. And so, that's really a next generation capability. Traditional sources of what's going on in the economy they tend to be late. They tend to be very high level. It's typically at a national level. They're backwards looking. They're not real practical. You can't, and so when the pandemic happened and the labor market went totally out of bounds, we went from an environment where for like the past decades, going back to the early 80s, wages were going up 2 to 4% a year. And in 2021 and 2022, wages went up 20% a year, advertised wages for new positions, 20% a year. So completely out of bounds. And nobody had any ability to see what specifically was happening. So they knew what they needed to do in order to get the talent they need. And very importantly, to keep the talent that they had, because all their talent was getting recruited away. And it still is this year, 2023, we're still at the same pace of wage increases in terms of advertised jobs. And so, our data really brings insight to that. It tells people what's going on. But in terms of where we're stuck, we've put in place the credibility around our data. Mm-hmm. There's still very large audiences, and we've got the proof points, and we have the endorsements, we have the influencers that are behind our data. But it's still it's a next generation capability, and so lots of organizations don't know that it's available. And then there's the whole adoption curve. There's visionaries and early adopters and fast followers and late adopters and so forth. And we're still very much in the first movers category there.
Go ahead.
Well, so from a business development standpoint, we have two challenges. There's one challenge, which is about getting our own brand out. There's another challenge, which is about making the market aware that this kind of solution exists, the pain that they're feeling all over the place. You talk to anyone and they're having a really tough time getting the talent that they need and keeping the talent that they've got.
Yeah. I post these instant insights every day on social media, and they sit on my website as well. But what I posted today was just a recruiting reminder. There are these little kind of memes. Recruiting reminder, only hire greats, right? Period. And recruiting is it's so hard today. And one of the things that when I'm talking to clients is the messaging and the clarity and as you're talking, you reminded me of the book, Crossing the Chasm, Jeffrey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite books.
It's one of my favorite books too. I read it 25 years ago, and it's so relevant, especially in today's market, because the early adopters need, this should be something that's so mainstream right now, right? Hiring great and getting data to understand everything that you're talking about. And so how do you get people to kind of wake up when you're fighting against art and science? But, think community, when we talk about hiring, a lot of things that we're going to talk about with Cary today, Greenwich.HR, if you want to connect with him, It's really important to get ahead of the curve on these things.
Mhm.
Really, that's what we're going to talk about today. So I appreciate that insight. I want to talk a little bit about data for a minute, right? So one of your clients is Walmart, and I don't know if it's an urban legend. I don't think it is, but I've heard the story that Sam Walton would go from the boardroom where no one was his client and take the data, go to the coffee shop and have coffee and pie to see what data was really important to his customers, and then go back to the boardroom and extract what they needed to move forward with.
Mhm.
And so let's talk about data for a minute, right? Because
Yeah.
all data is not created equally. It can be interpreted different ways. And so talk a little bit about your data and how you kind of extract it, make sense of it for each of the particular people that are reaching out to you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we're coming from an environment of very sparse data that is blown up to sound like very robust data, but it's really not. And it plays out kind of in your Sam Walton example, where if you're a recruiter, or you're a head of HR, or you're an operations lead, or if you're a compensation manager, you have the data that's in front of you, but you've got all these other data points that are coming in terms of the people around you saying so-and-so just got hired by these folks down the street for X amount. We've got to raise our pay, or we're paying way too much in this market because X, Y, and Z, and so forth. And so all these little anecdotes, which are really kind of second and third and fourth hand information, are now substituting for data. And in the absence of any other kind of more robust source, that is kind of a significant part of the reality that's being shaped every day for business leaders. Our approach is very different. When I founded the company, I recognized that there was a huge amount of data that was available, but it just wasn't where people were looking. And where it was available, with what we started with, was online job listings. So in the US and in many other countries, as a matter of course, companies will list a job that's open, whether or not they're going to hire from outside or from inside. And as a result, visibility to what jobs are open, what they need. Job listings tend to be written pretty well. So there's a lot of information, intelligence in them. And increasingly, job listings have pay associated with them. In fact, we're able to get pay on the majority of listings that we track. Yeah. So this is a huge source of data, and we built technology that collects it from online. So we have web crawlers that go and collect the data, cleans it up, removes duplications, changes all the titles to a standard kind of library of titles, captures the skills and other attributes of the job, like education, experience levels, and so forth. Organizes it in a way that was designed to be analyzed or built into other applications.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful data set. We do the heavy lifting of going in and getting the data. And so there's some interesting implications with that. Now we've got data that it does represent the market. Like I said earlier, we track, like in the US, for example, we track 80% of all the new jobs that are open. And some months it's even higher than that. You're not going to get a bigger sample size than what we have. And one of the things that does is it shows you what's actually happening. So it removes anecdotes from the conversation, which is a double-edged sword. It's because on the one hand, you've got a source of truth, and we're very transparent, so you can drill right down to the listing and see what folks are posting. And on the other hand, it may not match with the stories and the worldviews of leaders in an organization. Yeah. And so our clients go through an adoption challenge with their clients, and we help them with that. Right?
Yeah. It's so interesting as you're talking, because I'm thinking about, you have all this data that is, it sounds like you're getting it, you're scrubbing it to bring it as real time and realistic as it can be. But then there's the companies asking themselves, probably some companies asking, do I want the information? Do I want to fully know, everything? So that's my first question. So one question is, how do you influence the companies to really be proactive, to want to access this type of information? And then my second question is, how long is the shelf life of this information?
Well, I'll start with the second question. The value of the information decays very quickly over time, which is why we give away free samples for data that's 6 or 12 months old without a problem.
Right.
Most of the value is in understanding what's happening right now, and then being able to compare what's happening right now with what's happened in the past. But what is happening right now is the critical piece.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the shelf life answer. If you're looking for data that's last year's data, you shouldn't be paying a lot for it. I'll just tell you. If you're looking for data that's like right now's data, you're probably going to be paying a lot more.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. One aspect of it. And then the first question around how are we dealing with, like, do clients want the data? This is, what we were talking about with crossing the chasm. There's an adoption curve. And so managing the adoption curve is really important to us. We've identified kind of the early adopters, but we've also identified who will be kind of the fast followers listen to, so they gain more confidence. And so we've really gotten to know who are the buyers, the ideal client profile, what's their buying cycle, what are their buying considerations. So we've isolated that down. We've looked at who sets the trends in the market. And so, like in the compensation space, for example, we focused a lot on some of the key consultancies, some of the big certifying bodies that set the trends, and making sure that they're won over with this as a next generation approach, and that we're prominently positioned in what they're saying. And then it's a matter of turning the crank. So we've invested a lot in our own brand development. We continue to look for innovative ways to get kind of our name out, so that we're kind of saturating eyeballs from that standpoint with the right people. And like I said, it's like a flywheel. It's moving kind of slow, but it's moving faster now than it was a year ago, and was moving faster a year ago than it was the year before. Yeah. And it'll continue to pick up steam.
Yeah, and I think that's also with. I love that you said that, because I talk a lot about that with growth. Sometimes you can't see it or feel it. You can be doing everything right, and you're growing, but then all of a sudden, like it just multiplies overnight. But it's because of all the seeds that you've planted, right? You keep on doubling every year. The double in year 3 and year 4 is tremendous. So that's great.
Yeah. So we went up 30% in revenue last year. We went up 30% in revenue the first quarter of this year.
That's great.
And we're not going to keep that pace for all quarters, but you're right. And one of the things I do, frankly, is very deliberately, at least once every couple of weeks, I pull up and look at what I'm personally doing, and compare that to what I was doing, 3 months ago or 6 months ago. And that's when you start to see the growth, right? You don't see it on a day-to-day basis. In fact, a lot of times I kind of feel stuck in general until I pull up and say, what are we doing now? And how's that compare? And what are our, what clients do we have? And how does that compare? People are reaching out to us for investment opportunities. That wasn't happening a year and a half ago. All kinds of other things, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you brought that up, because as a business person, as a business owner, it's really important to kind of track even the simple things and all things, so you can really look back and watch your growth. And when I just turned 51, but when I turned 50, I built a 25-year business plan by quarter, and I fill it out pretty specifically, so I can look back and see, oh wow, I did all of that. Here's what I did for marketing, and here's what I did for this, and here are the books I read, and I track as much as I possibly can so I can look back and know my progress. Otherwise, I think you forget 85-90% of it.
Right.
And so think community, it's really, really important. We're doing a lot of things on a day-to-day basis. Figure out what you want to track so you can look backwards, and you can not only see what you've grown and where you've grown, but also some of the things that you didn't even remember you did that really helped you grow your business and your own skill set. Yeah. What is, as your clients have, your business has grown, you talked about different stats of being up 30%. What epiphany are your clients having once they find you? What do they say? Once they find you and start using you, what's their aha moment?
Their first aha is that they're able to see, they're able to answer questions that either they were never able to answer before, or that took days or weeks or months to answer in the matter of a few seconds.
It's amazing.
And so that immediacy,
Right.
and we
It's
call it rapid exploration. So the ability to look at one situation and then, based on what you see there, very quickly look at another situation. Like, tell me what HVAC technicians are making in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Okay, now we got another operation in Louisville, Kentucky. What are they making there? How about maintenance managers? Because we got to, and so very quickly being able to answer those questions, whereas before each one of those things would have been a complete study that cost money and took days. So that's the first epiphany. The second epiphany is one that nobody expects, which is they now have total visibility to their competitors. Our data is totally transparent. And so, understanding what your competitors are doing and who even your competitors are is something that people just guess at normally. And now there's a way to see that. There's a kind of corollary epiphany that goes with that, which is all your competitors can now see you in a way they've never been able to see you before. But the market is becoming more transparent.
Yeah. As a business coach, I say to my clients a lot, you can get to where you want to without me. I can just get you there a lot faster.
Yeah.
So it's great. So your data gets people there faster. And Think Community, we talk a lot about time on the show. For every 4 minutes you save a day, that's 24 hours a year. And so when you look at your minutes and being able to make a decision faster goes a long way to accelerating and multiplying and scaling your growth. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's great. Your ideal clients are who, Cary?
Ideal clients, anyone who's business of managing compensation in medium or large corporations. I would put towards the top of the list. Senior HR leaders, senior recruiting leaders are also our clients. That's all of those are kind of in the realm of managing human capital. Our data is also very useful for folks in financial services, fintech, and investment management for understanding where companies are going and what their priorities are. So we have clients there too.
I love it. All right. Quick speed round. You ready?
Oh, sure. Let's go.
Book that's had the biggest impact on you.
I think Crossing the Chasm is up there. There are some other ones that are mostly fiction.
Yeah.
Like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Good to Great is another business one.
Yeah.
More recently, I read the autobiography of Bob Iger at Disney.
Oh, yes. He's good.
Extremely moved by his career and the lessons that he learned from that.
Yeah, me too. I actually took his masterclass on masterclass.com. It was great.
Yes, I did too.
Yeah,
I did as well.
Yeah, I loved it. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
So you'll never know how much your parents love you until you become a parent yourself.
Well said. I have a 17 and 20-year-old. I get that. Last question. Finish the sentence, Cary. One thing everybody can do to understand their own, a different question. One thing everybody can do to recruit more effectively is?
Engage faster and more directly.
I love it. Think Community. Cary, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Think Community, as you know, I'm a business coach. I work with salespeople, managers, owners, leaders all over the globe who are successful, who are stuck. I get them unstuck. And I love having this podcast because I get to have guests like Cary who also are in alignment with getting people unstuck, basically because he shared a ton of great things with you today. I want to thank you, Cary, but I also want to extract kind of one highlight, which is Think Community. Really look at your business and determine where you need to be an early adopter. We talked a lot about Crossing the Chasm, Jeffrey Moore's book today, which I think is an absolute must read for anybody in business. But where you are a laggard, and if you read the book, you'll know what I mean. You really want to kind of pay attention to where you need to be the early adopter. We are in a market right now as we record this live June, 2023, Cary, where the next 7 years, we're going to see a lot of early adopters come with technology and things of that nature. And so make sure that you're ahead of real time so you can be real time and don't be behind real time. Cary, I really appreciate you taking time to be on the show. Greenwich.HR, you can reach Cary. JonDwoskin.com, you can reach me. Cary, any final thoughts?
No, just thank you for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, it's been great too. We'll have to do this again. And Think Community, thanks so much. Thanks, Cary.
Thank you.